When I got into the medical business, I did exactly what my competition was doing. I don't know what it was. I took some stupid pills or something. I followed exactly what other people were doing to get business. You know, you go to doctors' offices and you give the front office staff bribe chocolate cakes and things like that. Did the exact same protocols. We dealt with virtually the exact same medical problems, and we addressed the exact same in the same way. We didn't have anything special. We were just another facility, and we died a miserable death.
Hello, and hello. Welcome to the Profit Advisor podcast, where we separate coaching conversations from advisory outcomes. I'm Malcolm Reid, the CEO of Pro Global Business Advisors and the mastermind and creator behind the Profit Advisor platform. Now, each episode is a real operator breakdown. We broke what changed in the systems that made results repeatable and consistent. So if you want growth that survives without you, then you're in the right place. Well, today in this episode, we have the fortune and the privilege of having Mr. Michael Barbarita from Next Step CFO. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Malcolm. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you, Michael. Actually get a little bit envious. You're living up in Cape Cod, making an impact out there in the world. So, Michael, first of all, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience?
Well, my background is I went to Babson College. I majored in accounting. I was always a financial guy. I was a senior financial analyst for Fortune 500 companies, but I wanted to work for myself, Malcolm. I wanted to go out there and stake my own claim. And I started out, I ended up buying, with a couple of partners, I ended up buying a ski retail business, of all things, even though I never skied before.
So what made you do that?
Well, I wanted to be in business. I didn't like the corporate grind. I didn't like all the politics. I was just offended by a lot of it. Yeah. And I said, there was an opportunity here where numerically it worked. So that's all I needed. I could have done it. I could have been anything at all, but it worked very well numerically. We got terms, which, by the way, are very important. I would pay $1 million for any business, or millions of dollars for any business, if I could pay $1 a month for 1 million months. I mean, it's all about the terms. So it was a great opportunity, great terms, and so I grabbed it.
Got you. And so today's episode is focused on, as a founder, the bottleneck, the founder's bottleneck, and how you remove dependence on yourself. And so what was working, Michael? Tell us first what was working in your business, and then what made you ignore what was actually broken?
What was working was all the marketing. That was working incredibly well. We could get people. We had a mailing list of 80,000 people, 80,000 skiers, and it was a very valuable list. It was a very responsive list. Skiers are a rare breed, and when you can get an audience of skiers and you have a ski shop, you can do some damage with that. So that, from a marketing standpoint, that worked incredibly well. We were also, the way the company worked, the name of the company was Ski Town USA. And what we did is we had a Western concept. So we had all these old types of things, carriages. We had a bank, a saloon. The store was all made up to look like a Western town. And so that was really incredible from a marketing standpoint as well. So those are the good things. We were able to grow the company from 2.5 million to 8 million in 5 years. And a lot of this growth came from strategies that we employed, but it's not always smooth sailing. Some years it doesn't snow, and that's always a problem. But we met that challenge with a lot of unique marketing ideas because we understood skiers. That was the key. We really understood skiers. Oh my God.
So it sounds like you understood skiers. You positioned yourself differently. I love that concept. The marketing was working. So because things were working so well, what was it, Michael? Because in any business, there's things that aren't working, right?
Right.
What those things were working, but what do you believe was the constraint?
I think the constraint was getting the right people. We had people we could get by with, but I didn't have any experience in skiing at all. So what ended up happening is I hired skiers, which is good from one perspective, but from another perspective, they don't understand business and they don't understand buying. So I had to reshuffle that deck in terms of I had to implement systems in order to properly purchase products.
So what forced that decision? Like what forced the decision for you to have to implement those systems?
Inventory was building, Malcolm, and cash flow was getting brutal. Okay, so we weren't buying right. So I had to implement a system of buying that would work well, and it did work well because we were able to negotiate better dating and better terms with our suppliers, and so we would be able to sell product and then pay for it versus pay for it and then sell it.
Got it.
That's what when I first got into the business, the buyers that were in place didn't understand that concept.
Got you. So what was some of the areas that the business depended on you, Michael, in ways that you really didn't want to admit? Here you are as the founder. Now this business is dependent on you in ways you don't want to admit. Give me some ideas around different areas of that happened.
Yeah, great question, Malcolm. So I had to go and I had to actually go down on the sales floor and which is something that the owners really shouldn't have to do.
Yeah.
But I had to spend time on the sales floor because of a shortage of people, but B, it gave me an ear to what was going on with the other salespeople and whether or not they were properly selling the product. They were great skiers. Everybody was a great skier. As a matter of fact, Malcolm, we would close the store. This is how into skiing we were and we wanted to portray. I would always actually close the store on a Sunday in March, which is still the ski season. And I put on the sign, "Gone skiing," and I take the whole troop up skiing, and the store was, and we closed the store. So it just gave people an idea how into skiing we were. And that was important in the long run in terms of marketing.
So obviously in business, you were doing well. Things seemed to be humming along. But then, and everyone listen to this, as a founder, it doesn't mean that you are immune from going back and doing some things that you never thought that you would have to do before. But what standard, Michael, did you adapt? One standard that immediately eliminated the noise?
Well, I think the key was that I was able to learn and understand the customer and the business itself to the point where I knew what buttons to press to put the right people in the right positions.
Got it.
That's the thing, because the right people were not in the right positions at the beginning. And then I was able to get the right people in the right positions because I had enough experience on the floor. I had enough experience talking to customers. I had enough experience in the marketing. I have enough experience with the purchasing to be able to put it together properly.
Got you. And you ended up, fast forward it, you sold this business, yes?
Right. Absolutely.
All right. So
5 years later, it was worth $8 million, and I sold it for multiple seven figures.
Congratulations on that. And then my understanding is that you moved into another business venture that didn't work out so well. Take about 30 seconds and tell our audience about that.
Right. Well, the second venture actually did work out okay, but the third venture was a disaster. So I'll get to quickly talk about the second.
We'll talk about the third. We want to hear about the disaster.
All right. No problem. Yeah. Right. So the third business I got into, again, I didn't know anything about it. I had a big ego at this point because I had two successful businesses that I knew nothing about, that I bought and sold, and everything was going great. And this is an easy game. So, so I ended up just starting from scratch, an outpatient rehabilitation facility under the Medicare concept called a CORF, C-O-R-F, Comprehensive Outpatient Rehabilitation Facility. Now, there were 500 in the country. It was a concept under Medicare law that you could do anything that a hospital can do as long as it didn't require an overnight stay. There was 500 in the country. There were none in Massachusetts. So I figured out, let me be the pioneer. So what was fascinating is that in the previous businesses I owned, I always implemented business and financial strategies that my competition wasn't doing. So these were strategies that were unique, compelling offers, unique things like we had days, because retail is all about getting people in the door. We had days I'd give away free one-piece suits for the first 200 customers. We had lines that were mile and a half long, but I wanted to get Mohammed to the mountain, as I always say, to get the customers in the door, because that's the retail concept. That once they're in the
Right,
door, as long
right.
as you merchandise correctly, they're going to buy other things. So that's exactly what happened. So that I did that. My competition never would have done that in a million years. But when I got into the medical business, I did exactly what my competition was doing. I don't know what it was. I took some stupid pills or something. I followed exactly what other people were doing
Mm.
to get business. You know, you go to doctors' offices and you give the front office staff bribe chocolate cakes and things like that. We did the exact same protocols. We dealt with virtually the exact same medical problems, and we addressed the exact same in the same way. We didn't have anything special. We were just another facility.
What
And
happened?
we died a miserable death. Cash flow is just, I'm a financial guy and I know how to manage cash flow, but oh, we were hemorrhaging. I mean, we were hemorrhaging in a big way. And I was out there every day. I was pounding the pavement. I was exhausted. I had vendors calling left and right looking for money. There was personal liability galore. I even raised some investment capital that people who understood liked the concept. And so I had the pressure of that. And then it just all just unraveled. I just totally fell on my face. And it was a horrible feeling, especially when you think you know it all.
Well, that's really vulnerable on your part, to go from two successful businesses to, sharing with, that's a tough thing to do, right? Is, because one of the things we all like to do is that fear of exposure is real, right? And so here you are, successful businessman, and then you're talking about failure. I mean, so you fell flat on your face.
Right. I had to close it.
What did you do next? I mean, did you give up? Kind of what got you to this point?
Well, sometimes the toughest step to take, because my ego was like so deflated, versus when I was going into the business, my head wouldn't fit in the facility, Malcolm. And then but at the end there, I was just so deflated and so defeated. And one of the most difficult things to do is when you fall on your face is take the step after the fall, the next step. And
Ah.
so 30 days after I closed Freedom Therapy, Next Step CFO was born, given the same name from, how difficult it is to take the next step after you fell on your face.
That's clever. Wait a minute. So you fall on your face, you get back up, which is the hardest thing to do. The audience, He just dropped for you a diamond. I mean, and probably a 3-carat diamond at that. The toughest thing to do is to get back up and take that next step. Michael, not too long after that is when we met. Yes?
Actually, it was about 13, 14 years.
Wow.
That was back in 07. And so since that time, I've built Next Step CFO, and this is the longest I've ever been in the business. I was in the ski retail business for 5 years, the frozen cookie dough business for 5 years, the Freedom Therapy, the therapy business for 5 years, and now I've been here now since 07. So I guess I'm coming up on 20 years, 19 years.
Well, congratulations. And I know
Thank
that
you.
it's been about 4 or 5 years ago when we met and you became
Right.
an actual profit advisor. And by the way, nothing's for sale. Michael is actually one of our diamond certified profit advisors. What I'd like you to do, Michael, take about 60 seconds, right? And I want you to share with our audience, what advice would you give to someone or give to our listeners that are 3 non-negotiables when it comes to actually growing and scaling a business? 3 non-negotiables.
Okay, certainly. Number one is you can't keep doing what your competition is doing. That's number one. The second is you should personal growth, very important in a couple of areas. Specifically, public speaking. That's one area. The other area is just business strategy. So if you understand business strategy and you learn how to communicate through public speaking, that's a huge, huge advantage. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is being able to understand that there's going to be pitfalls along the way. And one of the things is that you have to screen out is the family and friends who are constantly questioning you because they have a W-2 mentality. You can't have a W-2 mentality if you're in business. And there's a conflict there that develops, and it's something that I think you have to. It's one of those hurdles that you have to jump over when you're in business.
Wow, Michael, that was so valuable, Michael. And listen, we want to thank you so much, not only for sharing these dimes that you've been dropping today, but being vulnerable and letting our listeners know that you don't have to have it all figured out. There's going to be ups and downs. Take that next step after you fall on your face and keep your head moving forward no matter all the noise that you're hearing. Michael, where can our listeners find you, and what should they do first after this episode?
They should go to nextstepcfo.net. That's my website. They should download my book called Powerful Business Strategies. They'll learn an awful lot about that. Once they do, they'll be in my ecosystem. I'll be able to talk to them if they have any questions, or if they want to contact me, more importantly. If they have any questions, happy to answer them.
Awesome. All right. Michael, thank you so much for being here. Listen, if you found this episode value, please follow the show and send it to someone else out there who's looking for actionable strategies instead of a duct tape type of system. Mike, thanks so much again for all of your help and support today, and you have an amazing rest of your day.
Thanks for having me, Malcolm. A lot of fun.